Hello everybody and welcome back to the tutorial for Dummies Guide to CK2, the latest, Holy Fury DLC edition, with me Midgeman in Newbie, Ireland. So, as you notice, the map in this game has changed quite a bit. But today we are going to be reforming our government type finally. I've been playing this offline for quite a few generations. I think the last king you guys saw was the first one, wasn't it? King Alexander the Bold. Since then, there's been a number of elected kings, just so I can get this into the prime position for reforming our government type. Today, we're going to be reforming to feudal. I've made a backup of the save file, so we can also reform to Merchant Republic, so I can show you that as well. There's a couple of things I want to be talking about today, and one of them is the reason that this map looks so ugly, and that's also going to be covered in a later video. But apparently, Saxony managed to take over the entirety of Scandinavia and reform the Germanic faith. So this is actually Germanic Reformed faith, and there's old Germanic rebellions and things. But it allowed them to invade most of the UK, which at first might seem quite bad. And at first it was. However, by the sheer fact that we have a ton of cavalry and a lot of infantry and allies to our name, I've been managing to holy war. I've just actually finished a holy war for the area of York, and take a lot of land and be using this to our advantage. Now, the reason I haven't given this away just yet is because we're going to be switching to feudal, so this is all going to become prime real estate for us. Now, the thing is, the reason I've taken this long is because I want, when I switch feudal, I want as many provinces as possible to switch to feudal with me. By clicking that button, only provinces that have the Stone Hill Fort 4 will switch to feudalism. And I've only got that in two of the areas. And I've done that on purpose because I wanted to show you the fact that they wouldn't change. Also, it's the same reason I've kept a hold of York, because I can directly control all of these castles in a moment. So we'll be sorting out those holdings. Likewise, for when I switch to Merchant Republic, it goes the same with cities. If I go onto here, for a Merchant Republic, you need the level 4 city. I'd need that in all the provinces I wanted to keep. And you'll notice something. So we're going to go into the intrigue panel, and we are going to adopt feudalism. So it's as simple as that. We're now a feudal government. We now have the problems and successes of a feudal government. So let's look at our capital. As you can see, it all converted to a feudal castle type. Something I did fail to mention, actually. If you look at a tribe holdings only convert at level 2, except the top two here. So if I look at the war camp and I hover over here, war camp have 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they only convert to equivalents every 2. So a war camp 2, it becomes a barrack and a city guard, level 1 in the castle holdings. Well, actually, we've got a barracks level 2, and we might have had a higher level there. And if it's level 4, it becomes 2 level 2 buildings. That's how the split works. It doesn't happen for all the things, because when you become feudal, there's also special unit buildings which don't get converted over, etc., etc. There's a bit of a weird calculation there, but that is essentially the need to know on converting governments. Have everything as upgraded as possible, or as even as possible. Whatever's the thing for you there. So let's have a look at York. We've got a church. Well, we're never going to be able to hold them, so let's convert those over. And right now, we are not going to be able to be Merchant Republic, so that's for the other save. Did I tell you? If you ever need to back up an Iron Man save, what you do is you go into My Documents, Paradox Interactive, CK2, Save Games, find the save games, and copy a copy of it somewhere else. That's how I'm going to be backdating. There's no other way to create multiple save files other than manually doing it in CK2. Now, we have 12 out of 7 of our holdings now, because we hold quite a few castles and such. There's a city here. The city over here has formed, and it hasn't formed here because in this province we had a higher level higher level. Let me find what it is. Large market city, and it's actually split into another holding. That sometimes happens. Let's look elsewhere. Likewise, over here. Everything actually has managed to convert over to tribes. That's new. That normally doesn't happen. Huh. Oh, I've still got some provinces in York. There we are. Now we're at 9 out of 7. That's much more doable. Now, next about going feudal. All of our laws reset. So, because we're now a new government type, we also have no control over our government. Our council power, though, does stay where it was. This was where my council power was. However, I don't have a council that is truly with me right now. Can I request your council support? What about you? Can I request your council support? I can. Request council support. Let's get some laws. I'm actually not. Okay, yeah. I want to be able to declare my own wars. Thank you. That's far more useful than any other law. Okay. And then after that, we'll either abolish the council or up our centralization again so we can have a bigger demesne in our own right. We can only hold 5 castles right now, and we have so many more than that. So, do you know what? First things first, I'm going to create someone to be the Duke of Ulster. Someone who's... Let's see if we can find some characters. Find character. We want men. I want my culture. Ruler, no. And let's find someone with high stewardship. There isn't really anyone. Don't exactly want them to be of a great house either, other than mine. I suppose I could give it to you. You remain tribal. That's upsetting. You should adopt feudalism, though. But now we're only at 6 out of 5 holdings, which is far better. I could create a Duke of York, but having this many holdings over in York is far better. I suppose I could create another county double title over here and say Hull. Okay. Anyway, court chaplain. New court chaplain. I'm having quite a few religious problems. It's Catholic heresies over anything else. I've got a Lollard problem and some other problems elsewhere. But so that is the basics in reforming. That's all really you need to know in terms of reforming a government type. But obviously now we're not playing tribal. There's a few more inherent changes that will come in terms of your styling rulership. For example, as a tribal leader, it's very good to be high marshal. However, now having a high stewardship or diplomacy is also very, very valid, or even intrigue. Intrigue, I'd say, becomes more prevalent in merchant republics, and that I'll get into more in the merchant republic. But stewardship and diplomacy are going to become much more influential, because stewardship increases the amount of demesne you can have. So it increases all of this, and diplomacy increases how many vassals you can have. So, and that's more prevalent when you go up the centralization, because as you up your centralization, you can have less vassals, but that is counteracted by your level of diplomacy. Likewise, it's taken from this stat, the state diplomacy. So that's actually a combined diplomacy from yourself, your spouse, and whatever counselor you have in that role. That's how the modifiers for up here is taken. My rival is currently my heir. Well, let's duel him. And I'll get a duel victory and some prestige. Why not? another thing about being feudal, we now have this thing, ruler uncrowned. We need to organize. As a Catholic, I'm not sure about other religions. I haven't actually looked into too many other religions since Holy Fury, but one of the main things for Catholics are, well, you need someone to come crown you. Only the Pope is fit to crown me. I find it send for the most powerful bishop of the realm. Any priest will do. I'm gonna have the Archbishop of Lindisfarne, who is actually my Duke of Northumberland. Do it. The reason Northumberland is currently under a theocracy instead of a duchy is because this guy revolted against me, and I punished him by putting him under a theocracy, because he's not gonna like that. I'm now heavily in debt for my coronation ceremony. This is only for a light coronation ceremony. Oh, no. Nobody liked my speech. I am king. So now I get the trait crowned by Prince Bishop, which gives me certain opinions and prestiges and stuff, and I get a nice crown on my profile picture. You know, just upping my social media cred, and fucking hell. No, being crowned is a very important thing, and I'm actually it's very lucky to be able to do it in this situation. Creating a theocracy is good because it's the middle level. It's much harder to get. If you have to rely on the Pope can force you to do things you don't want to do. You see, I had to pay 100 gold to a vassal. That's kind of fine by me. The Pope, for example, I was having this in my Normandy campaign. I was so big that if I declared any wars, I wouldn't. Everyone in the world would come in a coalition against me. So I was trying to stay out of war. I asked to be crowned by the Pope, and the Pope was the only person who could crown me because I was an emperor level of such high standing. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'll crown you if you declare war on someone." But by declaring war on someone, everyone came against me, and it was an endless cycle. So I could never win the war, so I could never be crowned. And the longer you're not crowned for as a Catholic ruler, this is only applying to kings and above, you actually take debuffs with everyone. This is vassals, allies, enemies. Everyone gets a negative debuff ticking for ruler uncrowned. So it's imperative to get it done. I hope I've made that clear, because it's a new thing, and I love it as a thing, because obviously the legitimizing thing in medieval period of a king was his crown. So it makes a ton of sense. Now, okay, what can we do? Well, we can't offer vassalization to anyone, and we can't force vassal. We are the suzerain of Pixland. They should be paying us money, so we'll be able to pay off quite a lot of this quite easily. Yeah. Sorry, I've imprisoned you. I'm gonna demand your religious conversion. You're all good now. Not sure I want you on my council anymore, though. Let's have a supportive council member. He's not very good in terms of diplomacy skill, but I will be able to pass some laws with him in the helm much easier because he is green. As the bitter war in Saxony rages, the armies of Duke Adamar of Ponthieu have captured Paderborn. They've destroyed Paderborn. Very nice. It's even worse now. That's a reformed religion. Way to piss them off. Yeah, also the Umayyads have taken advantage of the weakened Catholic world and invaded most of France. I'm so glad I'm in Ireland, because I can hide from a lot of people. Another thing about reforming has meant that our retinue cap has gone down, and our retinue are like the wrong type of retinue now. Prestige retinue, you can't be bought anymore. And everything is now a monetary retinue. So that's something to note. I'm going to keep a hold of mine and turn the maintenance off for them right now, so I actually regain some prestige, I think. I'm going to become a zealot. I get True Christian Knight. Very nice. It's a good modifier. So I will want to start maybe splitting some of this off and reforming my retinue as time goes. Try and get some more heavy infantry and such now. That's the other thing. We don't have light infantry anymore. Our armies are comprised, not compromised, of a lot of heavy infantry now. And another thing is, being feudal, we cannot call tribal vassals in anymore as allies. They have to be we have to raise vassal levies, and that's only from non-tribal realm. It's a big change. You need to be in a strong position if you're going to be switching type. Also, England has formed up. England is Norse, or New Germanic, and if I wasn't in debt, I could declare war on these now. Saxony's had a much weaker split. I was already fighting Saxony and winning, so this is fantastic. They've only got 2,000 men. We can start trying to forge our empire here. Okay. My wife. Let's make her like me a bit more. Why does she hate me? Oh, it's just uncouth and people are spreading vicious rumors about me. Okay. Interesting. A keep has been built in Leeds. I didn't pay for that, so that's decent that we've got that. Okay, we're in positive-ish money. Let's do a quick war against England while we got the chance, shall we? Gain a little bit more land. Holy war for Lancaster. Cumbria's barely any land. Could just force them to be a tribute. This is just a tribute. Oh, there's a Catholic Mercier here. Interesting. Okay, I want to try and take the biggest chunk I can from these guys then. Just going to be that. Lancaster. Now, do note with Holy Wars, enemies, any people of the same religions will be able to be called in on his side. As I said, Scotland, I am the suzerain of, so I can call them in as a vassal. Also a good thing to note, if there's places in the UK when you're trying to form up a nation that you're stronger than, but you have no CB on, it's a good idea to make them tributes, because that's a CB you should always have, and you actually get to be able to call them in as allies, which is pretty potent. It can be very potent. For example, I've had Scotland under me for a long time, the same rank, but they're technically under me as a suzerain. They pay me money and I can call them to war, so why would you not? Let's have a look. Nobody has joined England either. However, I have noticed our dement size has gone down again. I better switch it up to rulership focus, I think. Probably not the best timing to be doing that while at war. But hey. Let's have a look at who I can... have an uncouthed queen. Why not? So in the next episode, I will be looking at going into probably merchant republics, and then I'll be covering religion, and we're going to have to take a step away from our lovely newbie island for religion, because I want to talk about not only Catholicism, but also the other religions and reforming a pagan religion. So I'm going to be hard at work on some other save games to try and morph some clips together in order to get a nice little tutorial there. Just gonna win this holy war though, and just fill out the content, show you. So if you see, our army composition here is now mainly heavy infantry, which is very potent, will destroy light infantry. If they had light infantry, which they don't actually, I think they're feudalized. Yeah, they have a feudalized society, which means we are now more equal in combat with them. Before, we'd need much greater numbers to try and beat any armies on the British Isles being tribal. Now we don't have that problem. We can do it with probably even stacks and a good composition. Keeping this cavalry around is also going to be quite potent. Obviously, cavalry beats infantry. It's casual rock, paper, scissors. Because they have a different tactics phase where they get bonuses against them. I'm trying to find a battle where I can show you. If I slow down the game, because we're going to get a combat here. We got the combat phases. So the first phase is archers, which we also still have a lot of because of our retinue. I'm not sure we're even going to get... Yeah, see, pursuit tactics. As they start to run, all the cavalry comes out, is able to run quite a lot of people down, make sure they leave the field. And boom, they take a hefty amount of casualties, whereas we took barely any. 50 men to their 823 men. So if you don't mind the negative prestige you're getting from having so many of your tribal levies still around, setting them to non-reinforce, which means they don't cost us prestige while to reinforce while we're sorting things out, could be helpful. At least while you consolidate the Ireland. The Ireland. Siege this down. Fantabulous. That's 100%, and that's a Holy War Run 1. Now, one of the reasons I kind of hinted about this with talking about religion, there is something I want to touch on in this game, in this episode, that will help us understand what I'll go to in not next episode, but the episode after, the religion episode, and that's moral authority. Whenever a Holy War is won, you get this. You get points into moral authority. Moral authority is basically the percentage in how in control and how stable your religion is. So you get points for owning holy sites and such, but winning and losing religious wars, as you can see, there's a percentage there for 1 holy wars. That is affected moral authority. So using that CB has risks and rewards. If you lose that, you can screw your moral authority and you get what has kind of happened to the Catholic world here. The reason Germanic did so well is they beat France a number of times and crushed Catholic moral authority, upping their own moral authority, meaning they could reform the religion. And yes, that has been done. So there's things to note. So be careful if you're using a Holy War CB. Try not to lose them. It's, as a Catholic, not too bad. Only in really weird, vast scenarios like this is it going to become a problem for you. But I'm going to quickly do something crazy as well. I'm going to create a vassal merchant republic. So this is something you can do as a feudal ruler. If you create a... I'm going to quickly create a few. So if you create a mayor level title, it's always best to do this on a coastal one. I'm going to try and find the guy who has the best stats. See this guy? Right. He's a mayor. Now, if we grant him the county of, what is this, Lancaster, and then if we hit the include lower titles province, and we go the Duchy of Lancaster. Doing this will turn this man from a mayor into a grand mayor, which will make and spawn a merchant republic in our realm. Why I've done that, you might ask, and rather than creating a normal feudal vassal? Well, there's a lot of reasons here. And he'll also manage all of the land underneath him now. Having a vassal merchant republic is a very, very useful thing. You can only have a few, and that's really because of the reasons of this. You get negative debuffs with them to being the wrong type of government above them. So there's a -20 there, natural. So they're not always going to like you. But they will earn so much money. See, this guy has automatically started with a wealth of 500 gold. They will pay that to you in taxes. And then if you change the tax obligation, so they have to give you less men, and instead, if you go burger and slowly push them that way and start having to pay you money, you can make some serious bank in this game. So setting up a vassal merchant republic early, so they can start dominating the sea zones in an area that doesn't normally have a merchant republic, can start bringing in some serious wealth. And it's a big advice to any feudal ruler. I would never put it in a very big duchy. For example, Lancaster's prime, because it's only 3 provinces. If I was to say give them York, it's creating too much of a merchant republic, if that makes sense. Having large duchies controlled by feudal vassals that you can call on the men from and get a large amount of soldiers from, far better. The one I used in my Normandy campaign was Somerset has only 2 provinces, which is Bath and Somerset. Is it? Yeah, Bath and Somerset. Although they've feudally gone into different zones in this, so that's a bad example. But it's a 2-province duchy on the coast, allowed them to start expanding. I made some serious bank from that. It was a really good idea. And as you'll notice that eventually my monetary income, once they start getting set up, start getting their trade posts, it all starts flowing up in taxes. So that's a very good note. Anyway, I'm going to leave this part here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get this out. I've been Midgeman. I will see you in the next one, where we'll be looking at merchant republics themselves. Bye-bye.